Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Behind the Steel Curtain editor Dave Schofield coming at you again as you expect. It's Tuesday night. It's just after 9 p.m. Where else would you want to be? I am here to do this show with me, as always, my big brother Rich. Rich, how's it going tonight?
First of all, I don't know what to do because for me it seems like the Steelers' last game was forever ago, having played on Thursday.
Oh, I know. I'm like, we have to talk about a game that was. I'm trying to remember because I've tried to forget, but yeah, we will have to try to remember.
Yeah. So there's no breathing in the sweet smell. There's just saying, Boy, that was a long time ago.
Boy, that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
you know what? That's exactly what Coach Tomlin said I was going to say this morning. It was at noon during his press conference today to start off. He's like, well, I'll start off with a recap of our last game, although it seems like that was a really long time ago. And I also like how he finished the press conference. He's like, because someone's like, oh, you talked about getting rest for your veterans. What is there anything the extra time would do well for your young players? He's like, I don't know anybody that doesn't like a long weekend.
There you go.
And he's right. I don't know anyone that doesn't like a long weekend. So they're rested. Hopefully they're rested and ready to go. I guess we'll see. Well, a few things here. It's still so fresh in my mind and everything. If you didn't catch the post-game, no-game show on Sunday with myself and Jeff Hartman and Brian Anthony Davis, it was actually nice for us to talk because we didn't do the post-game show because the time that it finished. I was the only East Coast person willing to take one for the team and step in there, but that's beside the point. But so we had a show where we talked about the game. Yeah, where we talked about the game and everything, the three of us. But we brought it up in that show. If you haven't caught that show, make sure you go check out that show, especially for those of you here in the live chat, because we did a little tribute for Dennis Sheridan. If this is your first time listening and haven't heard the news yet, I had an email from Dennis's wife that he had passed away the previous Sunday. If you don't remember the name, I always knew it was Dennis because it was the old guy icon that showed up next to his name in his comments. And he would email me about stuff, and he would email me some pretty funny stuff too. So if you haven't if you didn't catch that show, go back and check it out because we did give a nice little tribute to Dennis. Rich, you were in the live chat during that show. I wanted to give you an opportunity if there was anything you wanted to say here real quick before we dive into the show some more.
Trying to remember who it was. I think it might have been Marky D out there that had said, hey, I hope he's up there, with Art Seniors, smoking a big stogie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going to miss him here. I'll tell you what, he was one of those folks that could just get me cracked up when I would glance over at the live chat. I'm going to miss that. So,
Yep. But
that's all right.
That just goes to show that, when we look at the live chat, we see names that we're familiar with. We bring up scores, at the end that you all are as much a part of this, even those of you listening and just in podcast form, you all are a part of this BTSC family. You're who makes it what it is. And so when something happens like that, where we lose a member of the family, it is sad, but at the same time, we just wanted to make sure we gave that shout out to Dennis. So with that, I guess it's time to move on, Rich. It'll be interesting. There's something we want to share. We're just going to wait a little bit longer, make sure we have everyone with a chance to get in here. Just something else that we wanted to share. Since we shared the down news, we'll have to share the up news. One of the things I said about I took one for the team and I was on the post-game show. I did the post-game show last week for a reason. That's when volunteering to be the East Coast representative. And that's because I knew I was going to miss the next one. I'm not going to be on the post-game show this Sunday. So if you tune in for me, which I doubt it, I'm not going to be there. If you tune in despite of me, you're going to be happy. Although if you tune in despite me, I don't know why you're watching this show. I don't know. People love Big Bro. People love Big Bro. That's why.
If they tune in to troll you,
yeah.
Sorry, there will be no trolling of Dave on Sunday.
Yes, I'm going to the game. It's interesting. I was not supposed to attend this game. I had someone else who was possibly interested in my tickets. They were a Titans fan, so I didn't know if I really wanted to do that. They didn't get the friends and family price, that's for sure. Then when Brian Anthony Davis was looking to go to the Lions game, which was a game I was supposed to go to, I said, "Oh, why don't you go to that game? Then I'll just wait and I'll go to the Titans game." Hoping to catch Kathy. That's a good one. So I did that, and I have another friend who's a Titans fan. He actually wrote some NFL news for the site for a little while. And he's like, "Oh," I'm like, "I'm not taking a Titans fan with me." So I explained to him, I said, "I haven't been to a game with my wife in several years, going with my wife." Well, Big Bro was going to step up and watch the rest of the family for me so my wife and I could go to the game, only to find out that she's now on call for work this weekend, unfortunately, because she's trying to take off the remainder of the year after that. So I had to call I had to tap in Big Bro for something else. Rather than taking care of my family, what's Big Bro doing?
Go to the game.
Big Bro's sitting next to me. He's going to be in 122. It will be a Scho Bro Show to show up and watch this game. I know there's some of you out there that'll be there. Tyler W. just said that. It's not just going to be me. It's going to be Rich and I. We will be there. We are part of the 122 crew. We are in section 1, not just 122 crew in Q, because that's the other thing. We're in row Q.
Right.
You got to throw that out there. So I have no problem saying where my seats are. 122 row Q, seats 16 and 17. That's where you and I will be on Sunday. Any idea how soon we'll get there? I mean, it's going to be cold. I think the high is supposed to be like 38 in Pittsburgh.
It was down today to like 35.
Oh, was it? I checked it. Oh, it was like 7 o'clock.
Yesterday was 38.
Yeah.
When I checked this afternoon, they're saying like 35. I'm like, ooh, nice. That's after like 60 something on Saturday.
So there they go. So here's another one. Aaron A-Dub, he says he'll be there. I know nice. Tyler W says he'll be there. So hey, our goal, if everything goes properly, make sure you follow me on Twitter. STLR Superfan Dad, if you're listening in podcast form and you're going to be at the game. If you're here watching live on YouTube or Facebook, it's on the screen. Make sure you got me on Twitter. If something happens, I'll try to put it out on Twitter. Hey, I'm blah, 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 blah. You never know if something happens, you hit bad traffic or things of that nature. But, I mean, hopefully we're going to be in stadium by noon. Wouldn't you think, bro?
In the stadium by noon, we're going to be in there before that, probably.
Well, I hope so, but that's why me, I give conservative estimates. That's what I do. When I'm trying to give, estimate numbers on our podcast platform and things like that, I like to give conservative estimates. I forget my wife's not going to be with me, so it's not one of those deals where I have to say, "Oh, I'm leaving it at 6:30 a.m. because I really want to leave at 7, but I have to tell her 6:30 to leave at 7. It's not something like that. But we should be up there and hopefully in be down in the section by 122. Hit me up on Twitter if you're there and looking for us. If I can get signal, I'd like some people that we want to go live before the game, and I'd like anyone who's going to be there. It's only going to be, we only go live for a few minutes. But if we could have some of the BTSC family there, that would be fantastic if you all would be there. So just thought we'd get that announcement. Anything else you want to say about that, Rich?
Yes. You and I have been to see the Titans at Heinz Field before.
Yes, we have.
The last time we were there was the infamous Dilly game.
It was the Thursday night Dilly game. We were there.
Won by the Steelers.
Yep. Hey, we also had to do this. The Steelers are in desperation mode. That's the title of the show was the Steelers need to stay in desperation mode. And we're going to talk about what that means. It's time to pull out all the stops. I had to go to the game with Rich. I needed you sitting in seat 16 while I'm in seat 17 because I'm always in 17. That's what I do. Because in that combination, the Steelers have always been victorious. Yes. Not only have they been victorious, They've won by a decent margin every time we've gone to a game together, haven't they?
Well, no, the game 2 years ago when against the Rams wasn't a huge
that's true. That
blowout.
wasn't a huge blowout. Almost forgot about that one.
But the Atlanta game we went to was a blowout. The Titans game was a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
And what was
then I think it was the Rams.
That's
either
it.
3. I don't know if it was 3 or 4. I don't know if this is game 4.
No, this will be 4 because we didn't go last year. Remember?
That's correct. We did not go last year. So sorry, this one just popped up and I had to say it. Outside Steeler fans said if we win, we need you all to travel to Kansas City. I don't know if we can get this exact. I don't know if we can get section 122 row Q seat 16 and 17 in Arrowhead or not. But no, that's a good point. So
I don't know, but if we win and you all want us to go to Kansas City, there better be a lot of super chats next week.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about some things here coming up with the Steelers. We're going to keep our normal schedule of the show. We'll finish it up with score predictions and things like that. And we might talk. We're probably going to talk forward more than we normally do on this show.
Yeah.
Why is that, Rich?
Because we're closer. Probably we're so far away from the last game.
Because that game was forever ago.
There's been so many live podcasts since the last game that we don't want to hash it for too long.
Yeah. Well, you haven't had a chance to really say your piece about the game. I mean, we talked on the phone, but really this past game, and we got to talk about it a little bit here. What was your overall impressions? What were problems, things to build on, all those good things?
Let me just start out with just my reaction as all this is going on. This game is going on, and I'm sitting there at the end of the first half going, really? We beat Baltimore last week, and we come out the first half this week, and this is what we get?
That's what we get.
And then, of course, the further it went into the second half, it was like they're going to play – they're going to go all Los Angeles Chargers against us and pull that stunt again, and that's basically what ended up happening.
Yeah, and I mean, but it was even longer. Like I broke it down, and I keep saying it. It was 2/3 of sucking, and 1/3 of let's try to claw back in this, because I think the Steelers got the ball. I mean, it was. And when I say thirds, that would mean through the first 10 minutes of the second half, so which makes 40 out of the 60 minutes. The Steelers got the ball with about 6. It was under 7 minutes left in the half.
Really? I thought it was in the half. You mean in the quarter?
In the third quarter. It was under 7 minutes.
I thought it was over 7. I thought it was around 7.5.
Oh my goodness. Now you're going to make me have to look this up. Yep. Exactly when they go. But they didn't score until there was less than 5 minutes left.
Correct.
For sure.
Yes.
So we definitely know that one. That was the thing. I can find the exact play, the exact time that the Steelers got the ball on their drive where they scored their first touchdown in the third quarter. They got the ball with 6 minutes and 15 seconds left in the game, in the half, or in the quarter. What am I saying? In the third quarter?
I don't know.
Which one? Because
what are you
saying? It was right after a 25-yard field goal from Minnesota that was kicked with 6:18 left, or snapped with 6:18 left, and then it was a touchback at 6:15 where the Steelers took that first snap. So technically with 21 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. Yep, but if you think about it, they first it was an incomplete pass, then it was an 8-yard run. 3rd and 2, then it was a 3-yard run. That was one where Najee came through and 2 straight runs getting the 10 yards. What really kicked it off was with 5 minutes and 11 seconds left when they snapped the ball was the James Washington 29-yard catch.
Yeah.
That's what kind of started it, which was basically almost with exactly 20 minutes remaining.
Do you know what I probably should have put it in the knee-jerk article. Okay. You know what my actual physical reaction was when that happened? I out loud, I think I said one word. Okay. When Washington when they throw that ball deep to Washington, I said, finally. Finally, that was what I said.
Although you were accused of falling asleep and Kyle wrote the article. Kyle was probably done. Kyle didn't watch on that whole game. I know he had school the next day.
Kyle didn't even watch the first half.
Oh, yeah. He didn't even
make it all the way through the first half because he had basketball practice going on, and they had a game. They had their first game of the season Friday. So he was wanting to make sure he got to bed.
Oh, yeah. You have to be hey, if you're going to be an athlete, you've got to understand that sometimes your fandom like that has to take a back seat. So first game Friday.
So Steelers, Pittsburgh, no, Kyle did not write the knee jerk. However,
we might be calling on Kyle some this weekend.
That's correct.
Here we go. $5 into the tip jar from Sean Manahan. Thank you, Sean. I don't know if this is the first of many, but we'll see how it goes this week. He says, as long as they beat the Titans, Clowns, and Ratbirds, Cleveland goes 2-2, Cincy goes 2-2, Ratbirds go 1-3. All very high probabilities we got the division. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We will.
Yep.
Because if you look at the matchups of the rest of the division, everyone's like, oh, the Steelers have such a difficult schedule. So does everybody else. Honestly, I think this week actually is the easiest matchups for the AFC North outside of playing each other. Because let's see, Baltimore they got to play Green Bay, but hopefully Aaron Rodgers is okay for that game. You kind of want to see that. Okay, so you have that. Then you've got Cleveland taking on the Raiders, who, why couldn't they be like the Steelers and Ravens, having to play them early in the season when they were actually good before everything fell off with them? But then again, you've got how many of the Browns out on the reserve COVID-19 list?
8 went on the list today.
I mean, what's crazy is there's a ton of players in the last few days. The only one from the Steelers so far was a practice squad player. So knock on it. Make sure it's, that's one thing that you definitely want to see going forward with the Steelers. But you're like, oh man, what if Ben Roethlisberger? Those guys were just on it recently. The odds of them going back, not so much. So, and then the other somewhat favorable matchup was the Bengals played the Broncos.
Yeah.
Other than that, then you've got really tough matchups. I know. We'll look at them here a little bit later, but and there's so many fans that are like, oh, the Steelers just need a better draft pick. I don't want them to win any more games. They're a game and a half out of the division, and the rest of the division has a killer schedule as well. What's going to happen, in my opinion, is one team needs to get, well, I say needs to, if one team in the North gets hot, then that's going to be who wins it.
Yep.
And they're going to have a great chance to win it all because you're going to be battle tested over those last 4 games. If it all ends up where everyone goes 2-2 and they're all separated by the same distance they are now, then I don't see the AFC North doing anything in the postseason. But if one of those teams with the tough schedule they have, gets hot and pulls out some games, they'll be on a roll going to the postseason. And honestly, the Steelers are just as likely as anyone else. The Browns are dealing with COVID issues, plus Baker Mayfield sucks. The Ravens are dealing with Lamar Jackson being, you don't know how long he's going to be out, if he's going to play this week or if he's going to be out for a while. They're still, keeping that close to the vest from everything I've seen. And then you think the Steelers, you don't know what team's going to show up, and for them, the Bengals are the same way.
Same way.
If they played the Steelers every week, luckily for us, they don't play the Steelers anymore this season because that seemed to be like the one time they'd show up and play fantastic. So that's just kind of how that all plays out. So got another one here.
Good, okay.
Sean again, another $2. He says, hello. We play to win the game. I agree. Jeff Hartman had did you read his letter to the editor on Sunday?
No, I did not.
It was that's the thing. Sometimes when it's Sunday and it's not a game day, there are a lot of good content at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers, gets kind of sometimes glossed over. But what he was saying is, what we have to understand is it's all okay if we don't have the same opinions of what this team needs to be right now and moving forward. You know, there are people that just would rather see the Steelers get a better draft pick. You know, guess what? They're still Steelers fans, whether we agree with them or not. And then there's people that want them to go out and do all they can. Now, I'm getting frustrated with the whole notion of, oh, get a better draft pick. You know what? Where was Cam Hayward selected?
Right.
31st. Where was TJ Watt selected? 20. So where was DeCastro? He was in the 20s. You know, granted, there's other ones that weren't as good there. What's the highest draft pick the Steelers have had in like 20 years? Devin Bush, who everyone wants to label a bust as he's still trying to get back to normal. You know, well, which he very well could be, but he needs a little bit more time before you really want to throw some labels around like that. So a lot of people saying, oh, we don't tank. But anyway, we got off subject with the super chats. Anything else from this game you want to say? We're talking about the 40 minutes versus the last 20.
Yeah, I really don't want to talk a whole lot more about the game because it was frustrating. The fun part in writing the knee-jerk reaction is you get to put some of those frustrations in writing and put it out there for everybody else to read.
Yeah.
And I was doing plenty of that in the first half of that game.
Yep. It was frustrating. I mean, I think, did I say it to Michael Beck or I can't remember. It felt like the Minnesota Vikings must have lined up on offense with 3-yard splits between their offensive linemen because they didn't, but it just felt like as soon as the ball was snapped, the entire Steelers defense was stretched so far across the field that there was just 5-yard wide holes. It just seemed like there was just massive gaps the whole way, exactly where they wanted them to be. It was just, it was tough to have to watch that it's like, my goodness, giving up that much on the ground. And like Jeff Hartman said it perfectly. He's like, you know, the Vikings had one drive that was one play right after the Steelers scored because they got an interception. Just like, why in the world are they throwing the ball? I would not throw this ball again. How did the Steelers get 2 second-half interceptions? Minnesota shouldn't have had to throw the ball. They should just hand it off every time. There wasn't going to be enough time to come back. There was no reason to throw the ball. So, yeah, crazy.
I will say this.
Yeah.
The game on Thursday night, I have a fantasy team that game probably, locked me into a playoff spot in one of my fantasy leagues because I had my 2 running backs were Najee and Dalvin Cook. I took the gamble that Cook would play. He played. They were both huge. They single-handedly almost outscored the other team. So I was like, all right, well, at least there's that. So.
Yeah. I mean, it was just one of those games. I was so frustrated and indifferent that when the Steelers actually had a chance to tie that game and send it to overtime, I was not amped up like I was in the Ravens game at all. I was just there like, I half expected him to score that touchdown and miss the 2-point conversion.
That's exactly what I said.
Which would have been, they would have covered, which would have been, nice, but.
There were some folks that were wanting to hate on Freiermuth about not catching that ball in the end zone. You can't. The guy for the Vikings just just got his hand in the perfect spot and knocked that ball loose. There are, that guy was out there trying to do his job and just happened to time it perfect and land it perfect and knock that ball away from Freiermuth. Hey, sometimes you got to just, tip your hat to the guy and say, hey, nice play.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not like Freiermuth couldn't have still made that play. He would have had to make an even better play than what the defender made as a play, which was phenomenal. Right. And even for all that to happen, it took the fantastic play of Ben Roethlisberger to get the ball there. I mean, that was
anybody that says Ben doesn't still have it, I just want you to look at that throw because in my mind, there's a handful of guys in the NFL that can make that throw. Okay. Aaron Rodgers can make that throw. Tom Brady could make that throw.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Roethlisberger shows he can still make that throw.
Yeah.
Where are you going after that?
I mean, there's people that got strong arms, but the precision on that throw of where it had to go, and not only that, to do it on the last play of it. I mean, it's not like you're fresh, you're worn down. You just played the whole game.
When he threw the ball, okay, he threw the ball into the only window he was going to have.
Yeah.
Okay, only tight window he's going to have, and he threw it long before the guy broke into it. The guy still had, Muth still had two guys between him and Ben.
Yeah.
When Ben threw the ball, Muth makes the break and is just able to get there. But then the guy makes the guy. Now, Sean Manahan, I'm going to tell you right now, I disagree. Pat Mahomes does not make that throw. Okay, Mahomes' arm is strong. I do not feel Mahomes' arm is that accurate on timing that it takes and timing that it takes on that play. So Kyle and I debated that one for a while because Kyle and I sat around talking about who could have made that throw then.
And so, you're right. It wasn't just making it and not just throwing it. It was also releasing it at the exact perfect time for it to get through.
Yeah, it was.
If you're a split second sooner or a split second later,
no chance. The throw was made, the ball was released exactly when it had to be prior to the guy making his break into the tiny window that was going to be there. I mean, that was pretty.
Yeah.
That was a pretty pass by Ben Roethlisberger. He showed, basically, to me, that throw showed to me why he's still the starter for the Steelers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think people were questioning Ben Roethlisberger. A lot of people were saying, like today, Coach Tomlin was asked about, like, could you go more hurry up or no huddle in the first half? It seems like that works well for you guys. There's a lot to that. I know someone asked this much earlier about, going no huddle and Ben calling the plays. Why does everyone assume that Ben calls the plays when it's no huddle?
I don't know.
That is an assumption that people, just like the same ridiculous assumption that if a team has soft tissue injuries, then it's the problem with the strength and conditioning coach. That there's nothing that says that those two things are related. Okay. There just isn't. So to say that Ben Roethlisberger could he be calling his own plays? Sure. But as we keep pointing out, the offensive coordinator can speak to him through the speaker until there's 15 seconds left of the play clock. Until there's 15 seconds left. So even if Ben's not huddling and he's pointing people, it could be Matt Canada telling him where to set people. Okay. We don't know. And they're not saying. They're not really saying.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe someday they will, but we don't know for sure. It's probably a combination. Yeah. And this was another question that was asked of James Washington yesterday about the number of audibles. They say that Ben hasn't audibled nearly as much this year as he has in the past. But part of that, when Coach Tomlin was asked about that today, they've got a lot of young players. I mean, my goodness, they got 4 rookies starting on offense. I mean, they're all really, then you got Trey Turner, who's an NFL veteran, but new to the Steelers. You've got a lot of new people. So therefore, if you call an audible and one person on, there's a chance the one person who doesn't get the right play doesn't affect the play if it's, a wide receiver over here when you're doing something to the tight end over here. But if one of the linemen or where it's supposed to go doesn't get what they're supposed to do, it's a wasted play. It's done. So there hasn't been as many audibles. And I'm not saying Ben doesn't, I'm not going to say Ben calls his own plays in no huddle. But I will say that he does have a little bit more influence on exactly how things are going. So if you want to say that, I will 100% agree with you. Just don't go so far to say that it's calling the plays and that all of a sudden it went from all Matt Canada to all Ben Roethlisberger. It doesn't work that way. They're both still working together, trying to figure it all out all the time. Now, why does the no huddle work so well for the Steelers? I think it's twofold. I want to answer this before you go to the break, and then I want to know your thoughts on it.
Okay.
One, sometimes the Steelers go hurry up just in a regular game because they have the right personnel on the field to do something to where the right defensive personnel is out there, and they don't want to change it and give them a chance to switch up, to try to catch them in something in order to do something. Sometimes they'll do that just a couple times within a drive just to keep that up, not that they're necessarily going no huddle. So it's always an option to do that. Okay. But you do that, you have tempo that's your friend. You're going up against the same package. You're not having to read which package is out there. You know, you have to read how they're aligned and what they're going to do, but you don't have to check the personnel because basically both teams have the same personnel out there as they go. That's to their advantage. But the other thing that people have to realize, you don't have the whole playbook when you go hurry up. You don't.
Nope.
It's not there. There's only so much of it that you can do within a hurry up because one, you're stuck with the same personnel grouping. And you just can't do it all. So there's pros and cons. But the other thing that I was going to say about that is by the time the Steelers are going hurry up in a lot of these instances, look at how the defense has already changed their philosophy. They weren't coming after Ben in there. They were trying to not give up a quick score.
Yep.
That's what, so it also has to do with the defensive philosophy they're going up against at that time where those are so successful. Would I still like to see them try some no huddle in the first half to switch it up and maybe see if they can catch lightning in a bottle? Absolutely. But it's not some magic end all be all thing. Rich, your thoughts?
Yeah, very much agree. You're also from the defense, you're really not very often seeing a lot of blitzes then and things like that. And you're keeping those defensive linemen on the field who are trying to get after the quarterback. And so they're starting to tire out, which is actually making it easier for the offensive line to block them. There's so many different variables that change up when you do this, but I also agree with the fact of what you're saying. Typically the defensive philosophy is different when you're up big and a team starts going no huddle.
Yeah. I also had another thought. Part of what I like with the no huddle and what might work, this might blow your mind, people, because it might be that, wow, Matt Canada might actually know a little bit what he's doing. You ready? It might be the combination of Ben Roethlisberger getting to the line with 30 seconds left, him diagnosing, and your offensive coordinator in the booth diagnosing defense for you at the same time and still talking to you can actually help devise a better game plan for that play. If he's still talking to him and you're actually on the line getting ready to go, that means you have an extra set of eyes in the sky. What a big advantage that is right there, just to have someone else that could keep talking to him. So, I don't think the mic cuts out. I don't quote me for this for sure. I could find out that I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the mic cuts out when it gets to 15 seconds of the play clock or when the ball is snapped, not when they're like ready for snap or something. So just something else to throw out there. Rich, we're going to roll to part two. We got to really get into this topic because it's a really good point about the Steelers being in desperation mode. We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're really going to nail that home. We'll talk about the upcoming matchup with the Titans. We'll talk a little bit more about us being at the game. And of course, we'll get everyone's scores. So if you're listening in audio form, go ahead, click on over to part two. If you're here with us on YouTube or Facebook Live, we'll be back in just a few seconds. Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to part two of the Scho Bro Show. This is behind the steel curtain editor Dave Schofield coming at you again. Now it's after 9:40 on Tuesday, and with me as always is my big brother Rich. Rich, you doing all right?
I'd be doing better if the Steelers would have won last game, but I'll do as good as I can do, I guess.
All right, you brought up an interesting question, so I'm going to ask this because it kind of goes into the title of the show. If the Steelers would have won that game, do you? Granted, they having that other extra win would have been extremely helpful. You'd be talking about being a half game up on two teams and only a half game back from the division leader. That would have really been something. But do you think it might not have, with these young players, made them understand some lessons that could have that we're now hoping that they learn from this game? Meaning that you can't just not show up for 40 minutes and then still manage to win a football game. Do you think actually pulling that one out in some aspects could have hurt them over these last 4 games?
Who knows?
It's
We're
fine
gonna find out.
but still,
it's a great question.
Yeah.
I'd still rather win than lose,
Heck
but
yeah.
But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Because it comes back to the title of your show. The Steelers now pretty much have to feel like we're in desperation mode. We need to win every game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember another time when that happened. Do you?
That would have been one in 2005. They had to win every game.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking of that 2013 season when they started 0-4 and they really had to win everything down the stretch, and 101 things had to go their way the last week, and all but one did because Ryan Suckup just couldn't get the job done after Andy Reid benched like 30 starters.
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't talk about that one. But yeah,
No.
But here's the thing. How many times have the Steelers been where they are right now, where they needed to just roll through the final 4 games and they didn't?
Right.
That's happened a lot.
Yep.
But if they did, look out, because look where they were going. That's the point. It's not that we're expecting them to. It's if they could get it together to do that. And if you're thinking about it, what better time coming off a mini bye, other than if you would have had a bye last week, like which the last 4 teams of the NFL did. What a good time to say, hey, this is it. This is where we're going. The Steelers seem to play better in desperation mode, with the exception of 2 straight sacks, and you're left with 3rd and 23. That game, well, they were in desperation mode up until that point. When the Steelers got to a point where they had to, hey, we have to score on every possession, they start scoring on their possessions. When they get to the 4th quarter, well, guess where we are right now? It's not an even 16 games anymore, but I'm still calling it anyway. We're in the 4th quarter of the season. We're in the final 4 games. So if you're going to take that philosophy, the whole reason I wanted to talk about this is the title of the show. If you're going to take that philosophy of the desperation mode they play in the 4th quarter, because they didn't put themselves in the best play, in the best scenario they could have prior to that, you've just explained this season. You are now in desperation mode for the 4th quarter of your season because you did not put yourself in a better place at that moment when that quarter started.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Give one of your favorite quotes.
They are who we thought they were. You play to win the game. Playoffs.
No. The Steelers have to play, as Dan Fouts in The Water Boy would say,
last
they
game of the
can't
season,
hold anything back.
The only decent commentary he ever had is an announcer, because it was scripted for him. Yep. But we won't go there anymore. That's where they've put themselves now. One more thing before we move on. I don't want to talk much about this game. This was something that was brought up at the press conference today, so it's fresh again. So I want to ask your opinion.
Okay.
A lot of people have opinions about that 2-point conversion, that they went for it not on the last time, but on the next. They didn't do it the first time. They needed, first they needed 4 touchdowns. They didn't do it the first touchdown. They didn't do it the second touchdown. They didn't wait for the 4th touchdown. They did it on the 3rd touchdown. And that was assuming that the Vikings wouldn't score anymore, which they did. Because we're talking being down 29-0. So if you're looking at 29-0, you're thinking, 7-7-7-8, or are you okay that they went 7-7-8-7? What do you think? Before we get into what Coach Tallman said about that today.
And I didn't listen to what he said about that today. There could be different philosophies. Okay. Here would be part of what I'm thinking. If you do it on the third score instead of the fourth, what you're doing there is you're saying, hey, we've built momentum to this third. Let's see if we can get it here.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you get it there, then if you get that score at the very end of the game, there's not the pressure that you have to make the 2-pointer there. Mm-hmm. Like, had Muth caught that ball, there's still a lot of pressure on the Steelers because they then have to convert the 2 to get it to overtime. Yeah. Versus, if they just got to get Boz to knock one through.
Yeah. First things first, I will say this on that third touchdown. If it was a non-offensive touchdown, if it was a defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown, no chance to go for 2.
No,
because you do it if your offense is already on the field. Because the same thing happened to that other putrid purple team. I'm sorry, the Vikings aren't putrid purple. I've honestly, there's many times I've cheered for them in NFC stuff, but that team east of here, they had the same scenario. They were down 15, scored the touchdown. Do you go for 2? Go for 1. They went for 2. They also didn't make it. But their coach, good old Wang Harbs, his explanation after the game was exactly what I was thinking, why I didn't have a problem with Coach Tomlin going for 2. I'm not saying he definitely should have, but I'm also saying I don't have a problem. It's one of those, which he said today, it's kind of a feeling of how you feel about it at the time. And if that's what he was feeling, I got it. Now, I will say, hated the play call on it. Really did. But the fact that they went for it, and what good old Wang Harb said was, hey, if we're going to need a 2-point conversion eventually, I'd rather go there to know whether we have it or not moving forward. Meaning if we don't get it, then I know we still need 2 scores. In every way, and everything we do from that point on plays out to us needing 2 scores. Right. If you go and you get it there, then you're good to go. He says, if not, and you wait till your last possession, and next thing you know, there's 10 seconds left and you score, then you have to have the 2-point conversion right there. And if you don't get it, it's over. You lose. So he would have rather, with more time on the clock, had the decision of how you played everything out. Maybe on a 4th and 3 on your own 25, if you're down 1 score, you're probably going to punt that away. You're down 2, you're going to go for it probably. If there's 6 minutes left in the game,
to me, that call is no different than doing something like, you got 3.5 minutes to play. You're down a score. You just scored. Do you kick it deep or onside kick it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And teams do it both ways, and most of the time it's the coach. What are they feeling right then?
Yeah.
So I honestly, during the game, I didn't even begin to second guess it.
Yeah.
Because my first reaction was, if they get it, we're down to 7-point game.
Now,
so
yeah, I mean, honestly, it's, to me, everyone's like, oh, why would you? To me, it's basically a 50-50 call of whether to do it then or not, because you knew you're going to need it. I'll be honest with you. You want to know the truth? If you're down 29, I'd think about doing it the first one. You know why you think about doing it the first one? Because if you don't get it, you definitely know you're doing it the second one. Then if you get the second one and you got 1 out of the 2, then you're back to the same situation that you would have been otherwise. And it all ended up working out that they ended up being down 8 because they ended up having to go for it again the next time for 2, and they got it. So because the Vikings scored, it kind of changed everything. But it's that whole philosophy. Sure. I liked when Coach Tom had an answer today. This is what he said. I'm loving that I can tell you this. He said, I went for it there because I wanted the option, if we got that last score, to where I was either going to kick it for the tie or I was going to go for 2 again for the win.
Right.
He wanted the option to win the game. And I like that he even brought that up.
There's so many scenarios. Look, part of the reason I thought he went for it is because of how quickly the Steelers scored.
Yeah. Say, hey,
that was their three-play drive.
Yes.
You just held the Vikings to a 3-and-out. You get the ball, and in your 3 plays, go, 70 yards for a touchdown. You say, to me, I looked at it as hey, let's grab this momentum and see if we can go ahead and get the 2 here. Look, I didn't hate that they made the call and went for it, and I wouldn't have hated if they'd have kicked it. I didn't think too much of it either way.
No, if they weren't going to need a 2-point conversion at all, then you really got to think about it. Then I'd be like, yeah, I probably would have kicked it, Or if you were having a kicker that was struggling, Boswell missed a field goal, but to me, when he kicked that field goal, didn't it look like I was worried that it was going to be flirting with the one upright when he kicked it, and then it took off to miss on the other one. So
yeah, that ball had some weird movement.
I've never seen the ball move that crazily for both kickers in a dome. Because I felt like the kick would start to go and then it would start to really take off. So Sean Manahan throws another $5 in. He says, chasing points gets you beat. You want to know the truth about that, Sean? About half the time. And about half the time it works. Kind of like going for a 2-point conversion. How many times you're like, oh, you're chasing points. Oh, next thing you know, you made up for it. If the Steelers right off the bat would have gone for 2 and missed it, and then they would have gone for 2 and missed it again, then they know they need a field goal in there. Then you would have, it's another one of those. No, I personally, I wouldn't have gone for 2 on the first one or the second one. The third one is when I would have started thinking about it if I wanted to do it there or later. So I can see it argued both ways. So,
to me, you're saying I can see it argued both ways. To me, it's not even worth. I don't feel it's that big a deal to even have it worth an argument.
Yeah, there's some people in the live chat that says, "Oh no, don't chase the points." Another one saying, "Hey, go for 2 early. That way, Exactly. It's one of those things that it's not an obvious call. It really is not an obvious call.
Because you can argue that you go for the 2 early, then knowing you need a field goal. So then if you get the ball again and you got a 4th and 3 on the 23, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, we got to go for it. What do we do? Make it. You say, you know what? Let's just get our field goal here. So there's things that change in your strategy depending on how you do these things. And honestly, I don't. Like I said, I didn't see it as a big deal. You need 15. I don't care when you try to get to 15.
Yeah.
So. If I thought there was time, I'd have said Boz could go out and kick 5 field goals.
Yeah. Just keep kicking them. And it's kind of like I'm trying to remember several years back. It's been a while. It was before I was with BTSC. I know if that's for sure.
I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Where the Steelers were down 9 points late. They were down 9 points. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about or not. I can't even remember who they were playing. They were down 9 points. They had the ball at about around the 28-yard line or so. And it was under 2 minutes. And they didn't have any timeouts. And it was 4th and 9 or 4th and 10. And they went for it and didn't get it, and the game was over. And I asked myself in that moment, you were down 9 points. And you need 2 scores. You're going to have to do an onside kick anyway. If it's 4th and that long, why the crap don't you kick the field goal?
Yep.
You kick the field goal because you're going to need the onside kick anyway to win the game. So did it matter if you were down? If you really wanted the touchdowns, all you needed left was the field goal. I understand that philosophy of you want the touchdown because it's so much, because then you have less that you have to get done to get the points you needed on the last one. But you're talking like 4th and 10. You don't do that. You take the field goal, you go for the onside kick, and you lose the game by 6 rather than 9, rather than trying to get to 7 and then not getting you lost by 6 rather than 2. If you even score the touchdown on that next play. So it is what it is. So there's a lot, sometimes you look at things like that, but it's funny because we're talking about these decisions, and one of the things that frustrates me more than anything is that it seems, and it's not common from the same people. It's not the same person every time. But like that whole thing I say that drives me nuts about people saying they need to fire their strength and conditioning coach because of these injuries. I'm like, Alex Highsmith got a bruise on his knee. How is that the strength and conditioning coaching problem? I know they're probably talking more about TJ Watt, but every little thing that goes wrong for the Steelers, people want to lay on a coach. And for someone who's coached before and someone who's dealt with youth sports, even from the parent side, you know, some people just want to, it's always the coach's fault. It's never the people actually playing the game, you know, and that's why, you know, I really like to buy track and field because when I was in the circle and getting ready to throw the shot put, guess what? It was me and all me and no one else that was going to do it right or screw it up other than me. So that's the thing. So the Steelers are in desperation mode. Do you think they're going to come out and play from the beginning of the game in desperation mode? Do you expect that?
They better, because if they don't, the season's probably done.
I don't know that they're going to be in full out desperation mode to start. I would love it. It's so funny because when Jeff Hartman was really big on that whole, oh, what do you do on the coin flip against the Ravens? Do you really want to put your defense out on the field that just let teams, you know, after the Bengals went right down the field and scored 7? I'm like, you really want to be gut? He's like, is that the gutsy call? You want the gutsy call? The gutsy call is defer and then onside kick. That's the gutsy call.
There you go.
That's stealing a possession. You want to go gutsy, go there. But now I can't remember what I was going to say. Okay. The Steelers need to be in desperation mode and roll through the end of the season. Who are you laying this on more, or do you think it's equal? The offense or the defense?
Oh, it's equal. It's the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me tell you, on Thursday night, in the first half of that game, neither side of the ball was doing what they were supposed to be doing.
No, they weren't.
They both needed to be playing in desperation mode. So I think it needs to be the team.
You're right, but I want to highlight that the defense needs to as well, because when that desperation mode, when we talk about that with the Steelers, we think about the no huddle offense and the offense and the offense, and we don't want the defense to be lost in that. The defense is not getting the job done. There has to be something more going on there that the defense needs to step out. But like I tweeted during the game, everyone that was throwing a fit about, you know, Dalvin Cook running all over this defense, I'm like, the offense had 66 yards in the first half and didn't score any points. That's not all on the defense.
Right.
The offense wasn't putting them in bad situations, but the defense just wasn't getting it done. But neither was the offense. I mean, to be down, I said 29-0. That's what it was before they started scoring. It was 23-0 at halftime. You know, 23-0. That's on both sides. That's on both sides.
Because again, if you're down 23-10 at the half, you're looking at that a little differently.
If you're down 16-10 at the half, that's a little different too. I mean, think about it. Week 1, Steelers didn't score in the first half. It was 10-0, 9-0, 10-0, something like that. Low scoring game. They came back and won that game.
Right.
So that's the big thing there. So Rich, how are you feeling going into this Titans game?
Nervous. You know
I don't know which Titans team we're going to see. You know what I mean?
I know. But you know how I was going to start show tonight when you asked me, instead of, you know, since I couldn't take a deep breath, you asked me how I was doing. I was going to, you know, shake out a Tums and, you know, pop it in my mouth, because that's where I'm at now. Now there's not much margin for error left.
No. I look at it this way. You know, the Steelers need to take a lesson from the Penguins. The Penguins just won another one. They won 5-2 over Montreal tonight. I mean, that team, all of a sudden, you know, things are down. They're just getting out there and playing their heart out.
Is that 5 straight now?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, they haven't given up a power play goal in like a decade. It feels like it's been a long time. This isn't a hockey podcast, but it's an analogy. It's a good Pittsburgh analogy. And that is, you know, even when things are down, you can still find a way to pull it together and make it work. So, whew, my thing is, I am really glad. I said I was pulling for the Titans last week because the last thing the Steelers needed was to have to face a team that's coming off losing a game to one of the bottom teams in the NFL. So I definitely didn't want to see the Titans fall to the Jaguars. But at the same time, they shut them out. And I don't think it's the defense of the Titans that's, breaking any records right now. So that might have given them a little bit of confidence. But that's kind of the difference between Tennessee. I'm looking at some of this stuff. I don't want to get into it too much, but it's one of the several things I'm looking for my Stat Geek show on Thursday mornings on the audio only side of the podcast, which if you're only catching the stuff on YouTube and Facebook, you're missing so much in our audio, is that Tennessee, they got on a roll where they won, like 6 in a row? They did it right there, but then, they lose at home, then they go to New England and lay a complete dud. But then they came back off their bye week with a good, strong week. Now they got to go to Pittsburgh. So is this going to be the team that just shut out the Jaguars, or is this going to be the team that got, kind of rocketed off the field by the Patriots up in New England? So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this one. I just know that this is the game that's going to define the final quarter of the season. Not even if they win, it's how they play.
Yeah.
It's how they come out, the effort they give, how much of the game they can put it all together, because that's the problem. We've seen, very small portions of the game being put together the way it is. That bottom line is I think you're at the crossroads of this season. How they play in this week is going to tell you a lot moving forward. You could talk, oh, well, they still got to play the Chiefs. You know what? That you got to see how they play against the Titans first to even have an idea if they have a chance to go into Arrowhead and pull something out there. It all comes now to off their mini bye, going into the final quarter, up against the wall. What are you doing now? That's the question that I think it is, and that's the answer I want to see Sunday in Section 122, row Q, seat 16 and 17, where both of us will be. Yep. So the question now is, what are we going to see, Rich? It's time for your score. Now, while Rich is thinking of it, everyone in the live chat, don't put your score there yet. Wait for me to type it in. If you put it in too early, I'm not going to do it. So Rich is going to come up with his score. Then then it's free reign.
But don't press send.
Don't press send until I give you the okay.
All right. Oh man. Right now, here's how it's going to work. You, me, go into the game together. 122. Row Q, 16 and 17. So far, we're undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
And the streak continues. Got to go, since we're going to two of us. Got to go with the streak continuing. I've been down on things the past couple weeks, but I'm bringing it back this week. Going Steelers win. Solid game from Najee. Actually, Ben does well throwing the ball around, spreads it out a lot to the receivers. Titans have no answer there. No Derrick Henry. Steelers 28, Titans 18.
28-18. Going with a little bit of a different combo there. The easy 28 for the Steelers, the 18 for the Titans. So you think that the Steelers defense can keep them under 20. That's the key. That's the key. So we are ready for your scores. That is in the live chat. Whoa! Everyone was ready.
Yeah, everybody press send at the same time.
Yeah, just so you know, if you don't say a team, then we assume it's Steelers. But otherwise, that's up to you. So, Bill Tyne, don't know this name. Think it might be someone coming from Tennessee. That's all right. Welcome. 21-17 Titans, what they have. George Teston has 28-24 Steelers, baby. Sean Manahan, 23-17 Steelers. Brian Brown, 20-17 Steelers because of my heart. This is one, it's okay at this point of the season to go with your heart because it's you got to get it done now or not at all. It's desperation time. Eric Parker says 21-13. That would be Steelers. Steelers Pittsburgh says 17-9 if Watt plays. That's a good thing. We didn't talk about that. Coach Tomlin said he was hopeful to get a lot of guys back at practice. See how the week plays. They're going in pads on Wednesday. But really, when you're going to get a good report is going to be tomorrow night on the Know Your Enemy with Michael Beck and Jeffrey Benedict. They'll have a better idea after practice, and they're going to be on with our buddies from Tennessee Titans Weekly that we got to talk to 2 times last year because we previewed that game twice. Thank you, Titans, for screwing that up and losing our bye week. But anyway, but those they're very entertaining. So make sure you don't miss that show tomorrow night. Kathy Ford says 16-17 Steelers. Okay. After your seats. I get it now. Okay. Because we're in seats 16 and 17. Okay. Very good one, Kathy. Rick Stevens says 21-28 Pittsburgh. Scrolling down here. Hunter Jack says 33-18 Steelers. James Galloway says 21-17. That would be Steelers. Brian Blackstock, 28-23 Steelers. Getting off the schneid. Okay. Gino Capinu, I almost said Capuni. That's backward. Capinu. Okay. So Steelers 23, Titans 20. That'd be an interesting one. I always mess this one up. Rich, what's this name? G's NSOM?
I don't know. I don't know. You can get the NSOM part right because they put periods in there for you. So
yeah, thank you. 31-17 Steelers. They even threw a little bit of stuff at Najee Harris. Some way, somehow find a way to score twice in back-to-back weeks because he did find the touchdown zone 2 times last week. Okay. Mr. Hammers Z. He says 32-17 Titans. And Bill Tyne says no, he's from Pittsburgh. He was in there fast. That's why I didn't know. Okay, Russ Obenstein says no Steelers 31-17. I'm hoping he means Steelers. Bibaboon. Okay.
They've been in there before, and
I know. I just never say it right.
Bibaboon.
Yep. 28-13 Steelers. Doc Holliday says Steelers 29, Titans 25. Bert Tavares says 38-21 Titans. Dupree 3. Isn't Dupree still on the IR? I don't know that he's even had 3 games that he's missed because he had a bye in there.
Yeah.
But Dupree's going to cost the Steelers an extra round of a comp pick. He's not going to get to play enough to make it a 3rd round comp pick. He's played nearly a handful of games, not many snaps. Definitely not worth the contract for this year. So, I don't know that I'm not even sure that Dupree's playing. A lot like Donnell Hunter. If you watched the preview last week. Sorry. No One You Know says 42-18 Titans. Mark Tobin says 34-18 Steelers. Patricia Castaneda. That's close. 27-20.
Who said hello earlier from Mexico?
Yes. Excellent. 27-20 Steelers. Love our international fans. Good guys prevail 30-21. Sean Manahan says we need Hayden back. Yeah, that would be nice to have him back. Be interesting to see how that all falls into place. Evan Giles says going down to the wire, Steelers 24-21. Let's see. Jesse Moreno says the way we've been playing 17-14 Steelers, but my typical pick would be 28-13 Steelers. Okay. I already got this one, right? It says 23-20. Someone will get hurt. It happens every game. So there we go. How about this one? Eric Pereira. That's that right? I think I did.
Sure.
33-0. Shades of old school Steeler football. Boy, that would be something. King Nat 666 says 20-0 Titans. That was the score last weekend for them. Here we go. This is the one. Ivor. That we'll just say that.
Horse dewormer.
Okay. 23-20 Steelers. Okay. I think we're getting down to where a lot of people have already had their scores there. Jerry Cherryman, don't want to miss this. Steelers 27-24. Claypool celebrates a first down and is actually short. And we win in overtime. No, not that Roosevelt Nix punt against the punt against the Saints. Remember the fake punt?
Yes.
They come up and signal the first down. Yeah, you didn't have it.
You were not too.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, some people are saying, but that Bud might possibly play. Okay. Some people say that he's going to come back off IR. I haven't heard any reports that he's back to practice. That's the thing. So we'll see if that ends up happening there. I'm seeing if we have any more. Yeah, here's the one you should be more concerned about. Sean Manning at $2 in the tip jar. Did y'all notice Ola Denier is a Titan? He's got more sacks than Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
You know, he's actually made more of a splash with them. Rich, did I miss any? No. I think I got them all. So bottom line is, because the way the AFC North is playing out, if the Steelers drop this game this week, the only chance they have is to win the division. When that's going to mean that it's going to take help.
Yeah.
If they don't, then they still have a chance to even, with the wild card. But you're getting to a point where it's going to be division or bust. That's why this is such a big one. And it's the fact that they're at home. It's a 1:00 game when God intended NFL football to be played. And we will see what happens with this team. I'm excited to see, did a little bit of rest help? Did the wake-up call get him at all from not being able to come back because you played a dud for such a long time? Is that going to help them, get things going a little bit better? I kind of want to see their response. It's all about the response. So, Rich, what else? What do you want to have to say here before we head out?
Oh, things I have to say. It's the most wonderful time of the year between being the Christmas season and the last quarter of the NFL season. You, me, Heinz Field, Sunday at 1 p.m., Section 122, row Q, seats 16 and 17.
Hit us up.
Can't wait.